The Kopats surged forward, thunder echoing beneath their steps. The air rang with the sound of whirling chains, thick, eternal, nearly indestructible lengths, tipped with spiked metal spheres. These weapons, relics of ancient engineering passed down over centuries, spun like bladed comets in their hands. Strapped to the Kopats' backs in custom-designed harnesses rode the Koats, smaller, agile tacticians who balanced effortlessly atop their living carriers. Each one held a weapon that looked like a hybrid between a rifle and an energy lance. Though small, the Koats were lethal. Each one was equipped with a lightweight automatic rifle and an impenetrable shield, allowing them to strike with precision while deflecting incoming attacks with ease. What the Koats lacked in brute strength, they made up for in intelligence and coordination. Perched atop their Kopat counterparts, they became the eyes and brains of the assault, strategists guiding muscle and metal through chaos with devastating precision. Together, they moved like a single organism, the Koats directing, the Kopats crushing everything. Across the field, the Ishtoas army stood like a wall of chrome and discipline. Pale, glass-like armor hugged the warriors' bodies like skin, its surface veined with jagged lines that refracted the cold sunlight. Their towering mechs loomed over them, all sharp angles and seamless alloys. Each machine moved with the grace of a predator, piloted by focused minds in cockpit towers. Even at rest, they exuded menace, an army sculpted for elegance and execution. No part of the Ishtoas formation looked improvised. Every soldier and machine was a masterstroke of technological design and militaristic purpose. For a breathless moment, nothing moved. The fire hung in the air like a question. Then, without sound or signal, it vanished. No explosion, no flash, just absence. Sebastian's breath caught. His hand hovered over the trigger, unsure if the world had just ended or begun. And then the wind shifted, engines roared, treads churned, the valley exploded into motion. The Kopats split into squads, charging headlong toward their enemies. Human defense protocols activated instantly. Planes rose, tanks repositioned, soldiers took aim. The Ishtoas responded in perfect sync, deploying drones and armored vehicles as their lines surged forward. A warplane had just lifted from the human fleet when a Kopat hurled himself onto its fuselage. With a savage blow, he shattered the reinforced cockpit glass, reached inside, and ripped the pilot free, tossing him from the sky like discarded cargo. The Kopat leapt clear a second before the unmanned plane veered into another, erupting in a fireball that lit the sky. The Kopats hit the human lines like a storm of iron. Chains cracked through the air, slicing through armor like foil. One Kopat crushed a soldier's chest with a single strike, the man folding inward before he even screamed. Another spun in place, his chain sweeping through 3 enemies in one motion, blood arcing like banners through the smoke. Everywhere they moved, the Kopats left chaos in their wake. Shouts turned into screams. Human soldiers scattered, stumbling over one another, some firing blindly, others already calling for retreat. But there was no retreat. Not here. Not anymore. The ground quaked beneath Kopats. Their roars eclipsed the gunfire. Blood soaked the jagged terrain. Broken rifles, scorched armor, and crumpled bodies littered the battlefield. Within seconds, what had been a battle formation was now a graveyard. The Kopats didn't pause to revel in their slaughter. Their snarls stayed low, their eyes fixed forward. A tank loomed ahead. A few Koats leapt from their carriers, pulling out shoulder-mounted launchers. Missiles streaked toward the target, exploding against the tank's plating, but the blasts barely dented the surface. The armor held. Yet the repeated impacts caused microfractures, small signs of weakening that would grow with every hit. The Kopats, growing impatient, surrounded the tank and swung down with their maces. The blows echoed like thunder, each strike reverberating through the steel hull and the soil beneath. The drivers inside tried to maneuver, to fire, to escape, but it was too late. The tank imploded in a flash of fire and shrapnel. The shockwave flattened nearby soldiers, Kopats, Koats, and humans alike. Metal twisted, and then, more footsteps, more fire, more war. The Kopats moved with such speed and ferocity that, for human soldiers, they were nearly untouchable. From above, human coalition aircraft rained fire on them, but their strikes rarely landed. The Kopats darted unpredictably across the terrain, their brutal momentum making them impossible to pin down from the air. While the Kopats overwhelmed ground forces, the humans and Ishtoas clashed in a technological storm, machines against machines. The Ishtoas' arsenal was not only vast but surgically efficient. Their forces fielded not just mobile units, but towering ground mechs and agile aerial drones, all armed with cutting-edge weaponry Earth had never seen. Their soldiers, too, were wrapped in combat suits decades ahead of anything the human coalition had developed. Most of the Ishtoa robots were controlled remotely, guided by skilled drivers housed in spherical command capsules. Inside, the pilot sat at the center of a dome of screens, each providing a 360-degree view from the robot's perspective. Every movement they made was echoed perfectly by the machine. Advanced magnetic shielding cocooned the pilots, rendering them nearly impervious to outside attack. Their control was total. Movement and strike one and the same. These robots varied in size. The standard model stood 3 meters tall, while the largest mechs, 15-meter juggernauts, were piloted directly from within. Those massive machines didn't just fight, they commanded. With onboard AI, they could map the battlefield in real time, lock onto enemy positions, and launch precision-guided missiles that rarely missed. Against such overwhelming firepower, the humans' tanks struggled. Even their largest war machines couldn't match the adaptability and intelligence of the Ishtoa robotics. But the battle between the Ishtoas and the Kopats was different, more visceral, more even. Rather than rely solely on machines, the Ishtoas deployed their elite warriors to meet the Kopats face-to-face. Clad in sleek battle suits that shimmered like living metal, they charged into the chaos. The suits responded to every movement, amplifying their wearers' strength and speed with frightening efficiency. One warrior leaped 5 meters into the air, a blur of white and silver, her weapon locking onto a target below. Her telescopic sights shimmered, her weapon fired, a Kopat dropped. Within the suits, nanocomputers ran infinite calculations per second: trajectory, opponent speed, terrain feedback. Each movement was mapped in real time. The Ishtoas weren't reacting to their enemies, they were anticipating them. Though no match for the raw power of the Kopats, the Ishtoa warriors held their ground through agility, strategy, and tech. They dodged strikes that should have crushed them. Shots from the Koats' rifles sliced past, but their suits adapted mid-motion, bending light and mass with programmed grace. Blow for blow, they remained standing. Where brute force failed, the Ishtoas countered with innovation. Their machines evolved mid-combat. Against the human coalition's fast-moving mini-tanks, the Ishtoa mechs fragmented into dozens of small autonomous drones. These swarmed their targets with coordinated strikes, neutralizing entire squads in seconds. But when the tide shifted, when the coalition deployed their heavier tanks, those same fragmented machines reassembled into towering juggernauts. Form and function merged again into one. With overwhelming strength, they struck back with crushing blows and missile salvos that shattered steel like glass. Every engagement was fluid, every movement precise. And yet, on both sides, the battlefield burned. Blood, oil, and fire mingled in the snow. The trial of evolution had no intention of sparing anyone.